I'm Marcos.
I'm Jacob.
Marcos, what do you do?
I play guitar, rhythm, and lead.
Oh, shit. What do you play?
I only play the drums.
All right, word. All right. Where are you guys from?
From Los Angeles.
Same place.
Word. Okay. How'd you guys meet?
Well, I had a change of course in my colleging, and I decided I wanted to study music, so I got into CalArts, California Institute of the Arts, and I was really blessed to get in as a guitar performance major. And my very, very first class ever, I see this guy walking in with like a green shirt and then a slightly greener hat. I'm like, oh, that guy looks cool. And then it was a touring workshop, and it was like a 3-day crash course, like a little mini thing before the classes started. And it was like how to tour and stuff. And so this guy was the only guy in the class when they were like, who here has gone on a tour? He was the only person.
Oh,
and I was like, I've got to talk to this guy. He's really cool.
Were you already playing guitar and everything?
Yeah. I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do with everything. Like I had the math rock thing because I'd actually studied with Nick Reinhardt from Taramellos. Like I'd taken lessons with him.
God damn. Okay, yeah. Props.
So I had a little bit of like expertise in that, and then I was listening to a lot of cool bands. But I was actually like really into indie rock and stuff. So I don't really know what I wanted to do, but I wanted to feel it out and just play with different musicians.
What was your background before meeting him?
So I studied math and music at UC Berkeley before. And I was kind of doing a lot of research there and working on computer programming stuff. And then one summer when I was working at this place called JPL in Pasadena, actually, where I live now, I was playing in a band with my friends. And actually, it's funny because it was actually this math rock band that I was in high school, and I hadn't really played any of that kind of music since then. Like I'd been more into jazz for a long time, and just other styles of music, hip hop, R&B, all that kind of stuff.
Super technical music already, so
yeah, just all kinds of different stuff. And at that time I realized like what music really meant to me and how important it was, and so I decided to go full speed ahead for that thing. And then I ended up going to CalArts for grad school, and in the jazz studies program, and I kind of like got everything together at that point, like was working on my own music, composing, playing drums, learning piano, all this different stuff. And I guess at the time that we had met, my main project was still one of my main projects called Battery, which is a solo drum set and electronics project. And so that was the project that I had toured with. And it's this kind of like jazz-centric project where I'm triggering synths with my drum triggers. And there's a lot of improvisation in it and all this kind of stuff. So it kind of like
killer. Shit.
You guys should cover it if you have some spot.
Did you know about this, Christian?
I did not know about Battery. No.
Yo.
Shout out Battery.
Yeah, well, we actually did on this tour. We've actually done a couple of Battery/Standards shows. So in Arcata, we did a workshop. That's another thing.
So we both met in Humboldt, basically. I sold him weed at a dispensary, and we both saw each other's T-shirts, basically.
Nice shirt.
2007 or 2008, and so we booked shows in a house in Manila forever, and basically. Manila, like it's about 5 miles out of Arcata.
It's like a little township outside of Arcata.
Oh,
it's
cool.
like the peninsula-ish thing. It's like around the bay. It's like we're on the bay there.
Cool.
So.
What was the house called?
The Manila House. I was also part
Rest
of
in peace.
the Big Tree that was in Arcata as well. There's so many fucking houses in Arcata.
It's all house
Yeah.
shows.
It's all houses.
Yeah, we did it at the Bat Cave, which is do you know the Bat Cave?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay, cool.
So Bat Cave wasn't around when I was around, but it was around.
It's
when
after our time, but it's
yeah.
Yeah, we had a great time. We actually did some workshops there, and Jacob went into like this deep like explanation of all his shit, and then I just was like, here's how you play like the Cantina song.
I feel like Arcata and Santa Rosa have like some really cool fucking young artsy kids like forever. Like doesn't matter whenever you've been there, like they're always there. So. So with Battery, so you did Arcata with that. Are you gonna do another show with Battery or?
It depends. It's kind of like wherever it feels right, because the thing is, when I play Battery right before Standards, I'm basically dead at the end. So like usually when I'm playing with Standards, it's like definitely like taxing, like pretty heavily taxing, but when I do both of them, it's like the craziest shit. So like in Arcata, I was down, and we're playing at this cafe in San Luis Obispo in like 2 days, so maybe I'll do it there, but we'll probably just play Standards and then bail.
Okay, so since we're on like the whole thing, like playing a show here versus a cafe, going to a show like in Arcata and everything, would you guys rather do a house show or a stage show on a given day?
Oof. It depends on the mood. Like, I definitely think there's perks to both, but after having played a ton of house shows, it feels really refreshing to play at a real venue and like get treated like I don't know, like less like friends and more like musicians. It's very, the relationship here is very curt, which I very.
We're back here. We're in a back room right now. You know, we could
Yeah.
get away from everybody. You know, it's kind of the perks.
Yeah, there's that, and also just also having everything mic'd up and controlled by someone who's obviously like really good. That's why we wanted to play here, because the sound's awesome. So it's like at a house show, it's like, oh well, like something's not loud enough. That's just the deal. But also there's that raw like DIY energy that I think we've both come out of like really strong, that we really feel in touch with the house shows. We did a couple of venue shows, and after we played, we did a string of house shows, and we were just like, we felt really refreshed. So I think a healthy balance is really, that's on my end anyways.
So with you guys being a two-piece, playing house shows, obviously nice. You guys fit in the house and everything. What are the perks and also just the cons, I guess, of just being a two-piece?
Well, for me, I'm covering a lot of melodic ground. So what I do is I have a guitar, and I split it into two signals. One of the signals goes just through all my pedals and then in a guitar amp. The other one goes into an octave signal, which has a range feature on it. So it only activates when I play the lowest 3 strings on my guitar, and that goes into a bass amp. So we get a cool stereo effect, and also we have like a low end. So I'm playing guitar and bass, and then also, so I have a lot of melodic ground covered. But the obviously the upside is we're touring in my Prius.
Right.
And
Yeah.
we spent like nothing on gas because it's just like really easy to zip around, and everything is really easy just to do as a band. Like if I want to do practice, I just text Jacob, I'm like, hey dude, want to practice? He's like, cool. It's not like a group chat, someone's at work, we have to like put schedules together. It's just like, hey man, are you free Tuesday night? Dope. All right, let's hang out.
Christian was part of a three-piece forever, and even just an extra person is a
Yeah,
whole
I was about
fucking
to say,
factor.
yeah, being the only tonal instrument in a touring band is obviously very challenging. But you have the two-handed technique gives you the opportunity to cover more melodic ground, as you were saying.
Right. But even then, it's like sometimes I wish I had a third arm to add something even extra. So we might just experiment with either looping. We just don't know. Like I guess we're just gonna see, because on our next, we're working on our next release already, and we're just trying to see if we can come up with more thought-out compositions. Because it's usually just like riff, polyphonic part, then another riff, and then maybe like little drum fill. So it's like, we're really kind of like limited to what we can do, but we're trying to expand that.
That use of polyphony, though, really gives a fuller sound, too. So
Definitely, yeah. So
Yeah, I feel like we're less limited than we think. I think that the there have been so many times in this journey that we've taken so far where it's been like, oh man, we can't get the bass sound, or like, when we were mixing the record, like, shit man, it's never gonna sound bassy enough, like, oh man, we need to get a bass player. But I think that this whole thing is just like an exercise in limitation, and that's the same thing that I've really experienced with my solo project, where it's like I have this drum set, I have this programming language that I'm using, and it's actually quite limited. How do I create a full song as a performer? And it's actually very freeing to have this setup, because there's interesting challenges that happen, and so you're solving those challenges by playing all these polyphonic parts. And then for me, it's like my goal is to be able to highlight all of those at once. So for example, like he might be playing a polyphonic part where there's a polyrhythm between hands. I myself am playing that polyrhythm between limbs. So it's like we're kind of doing the same thing. We're both just drumming on our instruments, really.
So really, I mean, there's a lot of pros here. You guys are working with being a two-piece, but there's really no downside of being a two-piece. You don't have a bassist, but you're working.
I mean,
that.
there was a huge one in that when we started playing together, I couldn't play independently with my hands, and I actually had to train for several months to do it. And
shit.
Like I started with Britney Spears, like "Oops, I Did It Again." So basically, I started with like play chord, do 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 do, and then changing the chords so I'm playing the chords, and that took me like a week just to do that. And then I was like, okay, great. And then I learned For Elise, which is like the basic piano song. So then I got that. That took like a month. And then just, can I do scales with this hand? Okay. Can I do scales with 2 hands? So I like really methodically built it up, and then now I'm trying to learn Mozart and Bach. So it's like it definitely I put a lot of time into making sure we could do it, and I think, in my opinion, I'm really pleased with the results of it.
we are, too.
So with you guys' videos on Facebook, there's a lot of them. You guys are playing outside, inside. You guys are posting the shows and everything. Other than just posting to show everybody what you're doing, is there any other reason why you do it? Is it to motivate yourselves, to show each other like how you guys play, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I'd love to answer this question.
Please.
Yeah. So, as a musician, or specifically as a band in 2018, it's like, what is your output? And that's the question. Is like, how do you what is your work? Is your work just your albums? Is your work just your shows? Are those things connected? And for us, everything is connected. Literally every single story we post on Instagram, every single thing we put on Facebook, it's all part of the world that we occupy in our own lives. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we're just
Absolutely.
and literally everything that we do is just sharing that, like sharing the things that we care about, sharing our vibe. Like, it's not like, oh man, I hope I can post this thing. I mean, obviously there's a little bit of that where it's like, oh, I want to post this thing because I know people will like it or whatever. You know what I mean? But it's also like as an artist, and I've seen so many other people do this actually. And one really funny example is this kind of meme pop artist named Oliver Tree, and it's like everything. Yeah, just look him up, y'all. You'll see. It's funny, like jazz solo cut vibe. Anyways, so like, everything that you put online is it's like a piece. It's like a piece of work. You know what I mean? And so like, if you're treating all of those, every single thing that you put out with care and you really feel like it represents what you do in all these different ways. Like, you know, we're musicians, we're making music, but we also produce like photos. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
I take a photo of myself and put it on the We Are Standards page. That's part of standards.
It's really
you know?
an extension of our art form, and I think a lot of bands are just like, okay, we're playing a show tonight, like we're gonna whatever. And I'm not hating on that, because obviously that you're just looking at it differently, but we see that as an extension of our art form. And I think, like, especially those videos, they're really creative. We get really, really creative with them, and they're a lot of fun to make.
They're fun. They're fucking fun to watch. Christian,
The me loading screen, especially, that was.
I have to say, like, as far as like sharing, like social media and everything. I mean, you're either doing it for the likes or you're sharing to share. And I notice that's what you guys are doing. You keep posting, so obviously you keep posting for a reason. So
on this entire tour, we've probably played to like, I'd say like 20. Like maybe we've played from like 4 people to 90 people per show. So we've played like 13 days already, 12 days or whatever. So I'm not very good at math, but that's not as many as even one of our videos that we'll put up at any given time. Because one of our videos may get anywhere from like 1,000 to 10,000 views. So that's instantly more than we'll ever play to in a given year maybe. So it's crazy to think that if you're taking advantage and treating that as an art form, as like an extension of your performance, you know, and people like artists that really capitalized on what was coming out, you know, those are the ones that really did, like Michael Jackson with music videos.
Yep.
Or like, you know, like, yeah.
They're cultivating a strong visual aesthetic too.
Yeah,
which you guys
or
have.
just that with music videos. Any artist that's ever taken advantage of the new thing that's coming out has really succeeded for it. And I think internet is the new thing. And I think, like, if you want to be out there doing it, especially like just like Oliver Tree is an amazing example. You have to have that. You have to think about it like that.
You can think about it like that, and we choose to think about it like that. But I think that there are also so many bands. We were just talking earlier today with our friends are in this really great post-punk band called Patty, and we were talking about this other band called Black Midi that's based in
Black Midi.
Yeah.
Black Midi. They're one of my favorite bands, and I've never been to a show, and they have no music out. But they're one of my favorite bands. They just made a Facebook, and then they just announced the shows the day of. So I think that's just like part of their art form. But an online presence, lack of, or your online presence is your art form, whether you have one or you don't.
fucking well said there.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are all like artistic choices that we make as musicians, you know. And it's like we just happen to choose this because, I mean, at least on my end, like, I really enjoy documentation. I really enjoy like curating the shit and just having like, oh yeah, we're playing this song and it really feels like it needs like a yellow background, so we're gonna put a yellow background on it, and it feels like it, you know.
Okay, so boys, all right. So next thing, the aesthetics here. What is going on with the first release with the grass, and now you got the kiwis and fucking avocados, all that kind of stuff, kale, all that going on. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I think like I've kind of always done this. And it was just me, and he's kind of always done this too, and now we just do it together. But we just like really are into fruit, and we just feel like it represents our music.
Okay.
Yeah, and
yeah. I mean, well, for me, I've always been like I love food so much. I actually have I'm wearing some cherry earrings right now. I hope they don't look like gauges to you. They're little circles, but
They look like gauges. Now they are cherries, sir.
yeah. They're just cherries, not gauges. The gauges are chill though. But yeah, I have these other ones that are like a fork and a spoon. And that just like kind of represents my relationship to food. Like I've always been super into cooking huge amounts of food, like storing it for like 9 days and just having all this stuff, all these vegetables and stuff. And I just really enjoy veggies and fruits and making smoothies and all this stuff. So like the love of this, the natural world, but specifically the like natural foods. And like that kind of contributes to that whole thing.
With what you say there, I feel how you guys are instrumental. I mean, just fruits, veggies in general, just like slamming them all together. It's just what it is. There's nothing else. It's just like everything, all that good shit, So, with that, you guys don't have vocals. Will you ever have vocals? Why don't you have vocals?
When you have vocals, there's a very clear communication of concepts, right? Like you say, I'm sad because, like I had a bad day.
That could be a vocal line. I'm sad because of the world. And that's what you're saying. But you can also express this with instruments. It's just not as clear because music is a language, but English is also a language. Like maybe you listen to a song in French and you aren't understanding the words, so it's almost similar to me because I don't know any French. Like it's similar to me to instrumental music because the voice is just another instrument.
Absolutely.
So if you understand that language, it's very easy, like very ground floor, like I'm sad because the world is sad. That's not you get what I'm saying already, and the music will match that, and the music works around that. What we're doing is like a dialogue. It's like a conversation, and we're both speaking through our instruments, and we get to do things that we cannot do in other ensembles because we're basically chatting it up, and it's the musical language. So some people that don't listen to a lot of instrumental music or haven't haven't thought of that concept, it is a little jarring to them or something. But if you listen, there's stuff there.
Yeah. Instrumental music foregrounds the personalities of the players and the styles and character of those different players. So like what we're able to do, like I mean that totally happens in a non-instrumental setting. Like with vocal music, there's obviously personalities of the individual players. Like guitarists get written up in who are in bands with vocalists. But I feel like with instrumental music, you're really able to show who you are super openly, and then the concepts that are communicated can be a little bit more, I don't want to say universal, but there's just more ways to enter into what the music means to you, and that's something that I really enjoy. I mean, I love vocal music as well, but it's just another
I mean, it transcends like language. It transcends it transcends culture. It's really people can really dig it no matter what, because it is like it's one of those things. It's like the language of the people, music. So I think that I think those bands, can transcend that, and that some people even get turned off by like lyrics that are in Japanese or German or something.
So I'm gonna say you guys are gonna stay instrumental, correct?
No, we're actually getting a vocalist tomorrow.
All right, I figured that.
I just changed my mind about all this stuff.
We just don't know. We're kind of just biting off little chunks. I think definitely for a while.
Yep.
If we ever feel like it, we'll do it. But we just don't know.
On Facebook, I saw your influencers like Chon and like a lot of jazz artists and everything. So I was just like, I saw Chon on there. I thought I'd throw it in there. They're really good instrumental. They threw the vocals in. It's here and there.
They got rid of him.
And they got rid of him again. Yes. Rest in peace. So that's why I asked that.
I mean, I'm down for a vocal feature like Axl Rose. Like hit me up, Like
Dude,
I'm so down for Axl Rose feature.
We know him. Don't worry about it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.